do you want to just take the screen and run away with it?
Sure.
Okay.
Where do you want me to start, sweetheart? Is there
Well,
anything in
just
particular?
tell us about you. Know that we are all on a weight loss journey. Hi, Lisa. And so we're very interested in finding out how you got interested in this and what brings you here and what do you do, and if
Okay.
anybody has any questions they can ask you, and I'll be right here. We want to meet you.
Well, life is always such a gift. And looking back, even 20, 30 years, I can't believe how much I've been gifted in this life. And I think it's true for all of us. We often look at the past and remember difficult times as not a plus in life. But as I look back over my life, and I'm 80, so I look back over quite a few years, the most difficult times were where I learned the most and were actually the greatest gift. So that has been a wonderful scene because it sort of flips life upside down. Things that we think we need to avoid or be very careful not to let happen again often deliver the greatest gift and the greatest learning. So I just love life and I love learning. And one thing that I really love about this way of living and eating, it seems to be aligned to the truth of how the body thrives. So the more that I learn about it, the more that I live it. Like even today, I was saying to my husband, I just tasted this wild rice blend that I cooked in the Instapot as part of our lunch. And it was so sweet. And all of the food that we eat every day gets sweeter and sweeter the longer I'm sugar, salt, and oil free. So when things like that happen, I pay attention and realize there must be a deeper truth involved in this than maybe I see, because the body loves it. And I just love being aligned with truth, aligned with what we're here to experience and share in any way that might serve another human. So it all began for me when my first husband had a very serious heart arrhythmia, a life-threatening one, and he was given a lot of meds. And I went with him to the Cushy Institute in Boston, and that's macrobiotics, and that was a long time ago. But anyway, that was sort of the beginning journey of trying to, pardon me, support his healing through food. And I was terrible at it, I have to tell you. We left the Cushy Institute, we drove, and we had a hot plate and made food all the way home. And even for a time when I was home, I was terrible at it. It took time to really understand how to create a new life, because we were eating lots of animal and vegetables, some, but not the majority of the meal. So that was a shift. It really helped my husband. He got off all his meds. So that got my attention. I thought, isn't that interesting that just changing the way we eat could change health in such a dramatic way? And then some years later, I got a very large fibroid tumor. And I was determined to heal it myself in some way. I tried so many things, but finally I went to Optimum Health in San Diego, which is all raw and wheatgrass juice. And in 2 weeks, it shrunk from the size of a large cantaloupe to the size of an egg. So
Wow.
I knew that I could continue to heal it with raw foods and using wheatgrass juice. So that also worked. That got my attention. And then we opened a Healing Foods restaurant because I'd been involved with Ayurveda, the East Indian healing food philosophy, as part of the university master's degree that I got. And so I was involved in, at the time, the three main healing modalities that were available: raw food, Ayurveda, and macrobiotic. So we opened a restaurant and served those, which I enjoyed very, very much. And yeah, people started asking, would you mind to teach us what you're fixing? And so that's how my educational part came alive. Before any of this, I was in the weight loss business for 10 years, I guess, and 5 of those years were in Australia. So I lived there and loved it very much and tried all the diets and learned a lot about the typical weight loss approach, which is follow a very rigid pattern, stay involved, and have support as best you can, and you'll lose weight. And if you go away, often you gain it back. That wasn't satisfying to me. I felt there must be a better way, a way that would give long-term results for people, long-term success. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I kept searching through this food journey of my own. And then I found whole food plant-based, and I saw the results it had with my own body and with people that I would help who had conditions. But what I also saw is if their life got stressful after they'd even lost the weight and were healthier, some of them would gain it back. And I didn't like that. It was the same story. So finally, through much interest and willingness to look, we ran into an understanding. And now what we do is help people restore health with whole foods, SOS free. And we show them how the mind works in relation to weight loss or any objective that you might have, and how that understanding of how the mind works, you can have long-term success. Because what really stops us usually is some belief that we're holding that kind of sabotages the whole objective we're after. And when we can see what that belief is, the amazing thing is we're free of it. So that gives you a pretty good nutshell of what I'm about. I love supporting people to live in harmony with the truth of who they are. And what I really encourage is to become very sensitive to your own inner body's wisdom, because your body and your own wisdom will guide you perfectly if you pay attention to it. So
did you ever have issues with weight gain, or what got you into weight loss
when I
stuff?
was in the weight loss business, I probably was a size 10. So I never was heavy, but my 3 sisters all had weight problems, as well as my mom. And when I got into the weight loss business and tried all these diets, I went down to a size 4. So I saw that the whole weight loss concept could work, but long term it couldn't work because you didn't want to stay on that restricted plan the rest of your life. And if you went back to what you were doing before, you were going to go back to the size you were before.
So you not being the heavy one, what made you go towards the weight loss industry?
It was sort of a fluky thing that happened. A friend of mine got involved and asked me if I'd come and work with her.
Mm-hmm.
But what I loved about it was I love working with women, and I loved being able to serve in some way that wasn't just superficial, what I would call my office work career before that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. I mean,
that
you
was,
seem, for not being a food addict yourself, you seem so, well, of course, it has nothing to do. It could be about any addiction, like you say, because it's the mind and believing our thoughts that push us into places that we need to go to get out, to transcend.
well said. Well, it's so interesting because just today, the number one tip I would give everyone is to have a willingness to really see whatever is holding us in a position we're not thrilled to be in. And I have a willingness to really see, and you do too, Janet, because you see very quickly. And so today it was so interesting because for the last 6 months, say, I've noticed that after eating dinner, I'd often want something extra and I wasn't hungry. So I thought, what's that about? That's weird. And nothing came. But there's a willingness to see. And today, what I saw was when I was a kid, I used to kind of congratulate myself in being able to eat a lot and maintain my weight. And I saw that that was what I was holding on to, or what was triggering this desire to have a little more. That unless I felt really full, I wouldn't stop eating. So that's an example of seeing. I saw what was driving that wanting one more thing when there really was no hunger. It was a different level of fullness that my body really prospers or prefers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I have that same thing. Yeah. You and I have worked together on that, and I still, I'm like you. I like that full feeling after so many years of restriction and not being able to feel full. It's just a miracle to be able to feel full and still maintain my weight loss.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't seem to want to give it up as much as I do want to give it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know exactly. Yeah.
So
Well, what I would love is just to open it up and let's talk. What questions do you have? Go ahead there.
Karen,
Jen.
unmute.
Hi, I'm Karen, and I went through a similar odyssey as yourself, Connie. I was macrobiotic because I wanted to have something clean. I wanted to clean my body out. This was 40 years ago, 35 years. I also went to the Kushi Institute. So, and they always told you what to have, the plate and happy with the rice. But I could never, there was a disconnect between my head and my feelings. I could never really figure out what do I need. And I would always do their plate and never diverse from it, never. So I couldn't trust myself. And I think I became anemic or something, but it just didn't work anymore. And then, of course, I went through, Weight Watchers. I wasn't that heavy. I was maybe 25 pounds, always too much. My dad had said I had a big backside, but that could have been inculcated in my psyche to get it off. But then I too went to Ayurveda. That's more recent, and that seemed easier than Asian yin yang type of Chinese method. The Ayurvedic was much more simpler for me to understand. And of course, I love where we're at now with SOS. It's wonderful. But what happens if your thoughts, how do you know when your thoughts are true? How do you decipher, with those thoughts, which are applicable and which we know are not applicable, or are a story, so to speak?
Yeah, very good question. Well, we don't control what thoughts come in. Thought just arrives. That's true of all of us. But what we do have some opportunity in is to pay attention or not. And the seeing I'm talking about, really seeing through a difficulty, isn't from thought. It's a deeper place within yourself. And it comes very easily when you let go of thought, when you don't give your thinking any importance and you just relax. Then you connect with your inner wisdom. And that's the place that the seeing comes from. You could say your intuition, your heart, your common sense. When you let the mind relax, then you connect to your inner wisdom, and that you can always trust. Now, how do you know? Don't believe me. Test it out. When your inner wisdom gives you an impulse to move in a certain direction, do it and see how it affects your life. So we are so used to thinking that we need to do to create change. Actually, change comes through a deeper seeing, which means relaxing that thinking mind. One way to look at it is like you've got a snow globe, and when you shake it up, you can't see clearly. But when you set the snow globe down and all of that snow settles, then you see the beauty that's at the center.
Oh, beautiful imagery.
Yeah, that's the same thing with our thinking mind. All you have to do is you don't have to do anything. If you do nothing, in time, you will go to that place of restedness. We're designed that way. We go there often in a day and we don't even know it. We don't give it anything. We don't pay any attention. But I was listening to someone today and I loved what she said. When we don't tend our thinking or attend to our thinking, we're awake. We go to a higher level of awareness. And all it involves is relaxing. That's it. And then we connect with this deeper wisdom and it will guide us. The way to know that you can trust it totally is test it out and see. So give me a specific that you're working on and maybe we could.
Well, I too have the clean plate syndrome. I think I'm full, or I might have been full several tablespoons prior, but I just clean the plate. It's a tough one. Or I don't like to stop. I don't like ending the meal,
Start me
so
out
to
at
speak.
5 and beeped at 5:10. So
Yeah.
let's set up.
Well, that's a really good one. So now I'm going to show you.
Mhm.
Because the things that are difficult in our lives are the doorway to more of who we are. They're the gift, like I was saying about the difficulty. Okay, so the next time you have a meal, and you're at that point where you feel I've had enough. Stop. Just stop for a moment. Let the thinking mind settle and check in with your own body's intelligence. Just ask, have I had enough, or do I need to have several bites more, whatever. And you'll get an answer very quickly if you're relaxed. What I get usually when I ask that question is, no, have a glass of water. Now you have to follow what you're prompted to do, because that will tell you whether or not that prompting was real. It's always real. We just override it with our old thinking pattern. Now that pattern of yours about eating more, just like mine or Janet's, it's connected to an old memory. And as you don't follow it and you stay relaxed in not following it, often you will see what that old memory is tied to. Like I did today, I was tied to the way I was as a kid and what I told myself about food. Does that make sense?
Yes, because I had a problem with potatoes. I couldn't stop eating them. And I questioned myself. Well, I mean, one would be supposedly appropriate, but then I'd wanted at dinner 2 more. So I figured my mother used to serve baked potatoes and roast beef or something, that old fashioned meal with peas. And so I thought it must be some sort of subtle attachment to my mother, or those days of halcyon days of being a kid, so, and from, no worries, So I finally conquered it by, well, Janet probably knows, not having. I cut them out, total, although I love them,
Well, one thing to be aware of with that, you don't need to work that hard. You don't need to search for what it is that's keeping you in the old. It will show you itself very clearly. All you have to do is relax and not give the thinking mind attention. And it really helps if you're willing to see. If there's just a willingness to see whatever is true for you. But there's no work required. You don't have to search. It'll show itself when the time is right.
Thank you for your wisdom.
Sure. As someone else want to say something, or doesn't have to be a question, we can just learn about one another.
Well, I really like what you said about paying attention to our own inner body wisdom. However, with the pleasure trap and years of addiction and marketing and all of that, it is really, really hard to find that center and find that, pay attention to that wisdom and not have the pleasure trap filter up and through there. So do you have any hints on how to kind of turn that around?
Yeah, I love how you've structured that, because it's a very clear understanding of what can occur. But all of that is on the surface level. It's on the level of your thought.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are in the position of being tempted by anything, it's the same story. All you have to do is relax, let this busy thinking settle, and then ask your body's wisdom. Then ask the body, what about da 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 right now? And the body is, your wisdom is very simple. The voice is, and you may not hear a voice at all, but the prompting is very simple and brief and quiet. It isn't a loud prompting. There's nothing harsh about it. It's gentle and quiet. So try again, and the best time is when you're tempted. When the dopamine centers want it, that's the best time to really get quiet and ask your inner wisdom whatever your question is. Is that helpful? Is that clear?
Yes, it's just whether what's gonna win out, so
Well, the question is, what do you want to win out?
and that's true. It's all personal choice. I got it. It's just tough. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it can be difficult because that impulse to follow the pleasure trap is strong. But the thing that's so neat, like today, when I saw this connection to my childhood, and the urge could come up again for wanting something more. When I don't follow that, when I follow my body's wisdom, it goes right away, regardless of how strong that pleasure trap draw is. And you see that a few times, and you realize it isn't as powerful as you believed it to be.
I noticed that with my not eating after dinner. The first night I really had a pull to just have it. Just go get it. You always have it. You always have, you want it, all those thoughts. And then when I didn't do it, and I have that intention with working with you to not do it. It's like having that intention really did something. And even I had these physical sensations, and I was calling them uncomfortable. And it's like, why are you labeling it uncomfortable? It's just because you're not used to having these sensations, because you always just stuff it with, apple and 2 figs. And then the second night, it was effortless. It was like, oh my gosh, it was all just mental. And it was based on a memory from the past, and wow. But I still hear what you're saying, that with overeating at the meal, that one I'm being honest with myself. I'm realizing I want to feel full more than I want to stop eating when I'm not hungry.
That's me too, Janet. We have that in common. It's that feeling of fullness in the belly that I was honoring again and again. And actually, my body was much happier with less. It felt better, but it wasn't a familiar feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love what you said about it was just my thinking, that as you let it go and followed your body's wisdom, you saw it wasn't powerful either. But the mind is very powerful. And we are giving it attention, which makes it more powerful.
I'm giving it power. But I do see how the mind can't really come into the present moment. The psychological mind can only tell me about what's past and what I can imagine for future. And that's why it's so important to tune into the body, because the body is right there in the moment. The feeling that I have in my body, I can feel right now. Whereas the mind is just keep telling me, yeah, but you always do it this way and you love it. But it's like, shut up. But I know I just need that pause and the desire to go ahead and feel less full, because I really do love it in the morning when I wake up and I'm skinny again. It's like when I go to at night, I'm 5 months pregnant, but then when I wake up in the morning, it's all gone. It's like, wow, I got away with it, kind of, which I've never in my life been able to do. So it's like I still want to play with it, but I don't, but I do,
Yeah. Well, the main thing is, as you listen to your body's wisdom and follow it, you'll believe it more and more. You can't, it's irrefutable.
Yeah.
But we each have to find that ourselves to believe it.
And I'm sitting here going, what is wrong with an apple and 2 figs? I mean, it's just
Nothing. nothing. It's just that I didn't want it. I wasn't hungry. In fact, if I want a fig, I'll have it during the day now when I'm hungry, when I'm not stuffed.
Mm.
And so it just bothered me that I was eating food when I wasn't hungry, even after I crammed at dinner. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you stuffing that in? Eat it when you're hungry. It tastes so much better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To eat when you're hungry. I mean, I think the other thing that is always a worry is, well, also that I'm doing this where I don't want to eat after dinner. So if I eat too little at dinner and I get hungry later, now I'm caught. I can't, because I don't want to eat after dinner. It's like, even though I can fast, and that's almost easier. Oh, it's just all a mental. I'm just gonna hang in there with myself.
You're doing great. Hang in there with your wisdom, because that aligns us with the truth of life. And that is far more powerful than any dopamine draw.
Yeah.
But we have to know that ourselves and experience it ourselves. And you're doing great.
I just know, when the time comes, it just happens and it's effortless.
Yes, that's
So
true.
I'll just keep coming and listening to you and Bill and your
Great.
talks. I listen to them, 3 and 4 times because there's just so much in them, each one that you do. Plus your
Okay.
recipes are amazing.
Kathy,
Yeah.
you said something, say it again, about Janet, what Janet was doing, or did a new question pop up for you?
Did you say me?
Mhm.
Oh, I just said that something about, what's wrong with an apple and 2 figs. That's what, but she explained it. So,
Yeah.
but it still is when you've been heavy your whole life. I mean, I was a fat kid, right? A little kid, toddler even, so I mean, the fact that you have to restrict yourself from an apple and 2 figs when you're 117 pounds, it's like hopeless to me.
113.
Excuse me. My God, you're gonna just blow away.
Well, let me try something on you and be really candid with me, will you?
Yeah.
Okay. When we follow those old memories that push us to more, more, we're being driven by something that isn't real or true about life. When we allow the mind to settle, and from that quiet place, we check in and see what's next. We're following our inner wisdom. We're following something very much stronger, but we don't feel that until we do. Which would you prefer to guide your life?
Well, definitely my inner wisdom. I'm a meditator and all that, so I get it. Yeah. It's just the other is very strong and powerful in me. And obviously I have work to do.
Well, you don't have work to do. It's very strong and powerful because notice in your speaking, you keep giving it power. You keep telling yourself how powerful it is. So test that out. Don't believe anybody else, only you. Test it out.
I listened to Jen Hawk and Doug Lyle and Goldhammer about the pleasure trap, and yeah, they say it's there, it's real. So although it's like it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility. So yeah.
Yeah, I know what they have to say about it, and it's been very beneficial for many, many people. And I don't discredit it. I applaud them for what they do. I like both of them very much. But there is a deeper understanding than what the pleasure trap is about, in my experience. And that comes from you getting quiet in those moments of urge that aren't necessarily real. And then let your own inner guidance guide you. Try it out today or after we finish and see what you learn, if anything. Thank you. Now, how many of you are whole food plant-based in this group? Are you all? Yeah, and what is your focus, Janet, for the group? What do you do together?
I cook. I make a recipe.
Oh,
And we all
that's
hang
good.
out. And I do it on YouTube, and then we thought, well, we should do a Zoom so we can cook along with you
Yeah.
and so people who are doing their own thing are doing their own thing, and I'm making something, and some people just like to follow along and see what I make, and my whole channel thing is for my pod. I mean, I started it to make things because my big question when I started was, what do I do now that, I'm not eating animal products, dairy food, processed food, what do I make? And so I thought, I'm going to show people who may want to start to shift towards more plants. I'll show them what I do, and just give them ideas. And so I just post all my YouTubes on the pod for people who are interested in just, coming up with different things to make.
That's so good. Yeah. Lynn, you had your hand up. Did you have a question, sweetheart, or a comment?
No, I was just saying, putting my hand up to say that I'm plant-based. This is a fascinating discussion, actually. It's the first time I've joined the group, so thank you, Janet. And sorry I don't have my camera on because I'm really not feeling well. But I can relate to a lot that everybody is saying. So this is very useful. It's a pleasure meeting you, Connie. I haven't met you before, so this is very useful.
Where are you in Canada, Lynn?
I'm in Ottawa.
Oh,
Oh, back east.
I'm in Kelowna, Lynn.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, we love it. We love being here. Okay, well, let's get some liveliness happening. I want you to let me know what questions you have or difficulties you're experiencing, and let's play in it. Anne.
I've been kind of watching Janet. I too whole food, everything, and I've lost 70 pounds. I'm at a comfortable
Wow.
where I'm at. I don't want it coming back because I've done the Weight Watchers a couple of times. Oh, hey, I got my sneakers twice, right? And I've done all of those things and many different things, like so many of us. This has been a godsend. It's just, and having groups like Janet and everybody being together has been so supportive to all of us. Thank you for being here. And in my next, I keep asking Janet these little bits and pieces is because I feel I have a next step. So I'm searching for that next step. And it's going to be more on the lines of what Janet's doing, except I don't want to be out there so much on, I'm still not YouTube worthy. I don't have the technological stuff, but going to people. So will this quiet, I'm looking for something to quiet all of the hype about it. And, at first it was recipe searching and all those things too. And so now when I get it, there's that part in me that says, oh, you can't do this. You won't be good enough with this. And Janet, we've talked about that, and she's given me some tips as to how she just went to people and found people to do that. So that's what my search is. And when I get to the eat part, it's when I get anxious about some of this in my thoughts, and then I want to eat something. And I eat something better, though, I must say that, because that other stuff's not around. But yeah, but I think that's where I'm at, and that's what would trigger me, is just getting worked up about something, and I really don't know to find that calm that we find with food. When we get to that point with food, we get the calm brain, they call it. And to find your next niche, as to help people and to show people. And I don't want to be a coach, as far as I don't want to be paid and do all of that. I just want to help. And so grocery stores are great. Grocery stores are great places. But it's got to go somewhere a little bit more formal with more grouping. So that's where I'm at with it.
Good. Well, that's wonderful. desire that you have, and I know you'll fill it. I know you'll fill it now. There are two ways you can approach it. One is you can learn as much as you can from the intellectual level, from others or from the web or wherever you go, and try things. But there's a very direct way to really know what's best to do. And it's the same thing. It's tying in or listening to your inner wisdom. So, what's so great about your inner wisdom? Once you quiet the mind and just sit a moment, you can even ask questions. So, you might ask, what's the next step for me to really serve people, or whatever your question is? And you will get a prompting. And follow that, do it. And tomorrow's wisdom won't come today. You may only receive wisdom to take one step. Take that step, test it out, see if it's a good step. And then quiet again and find the next step that you will take, because then you're on purpose. You're here expressing your purpose in the way that life wants you to express it. And that doesn't come from the intellect, that comes from seeing, from having a deeper seeing as to what your next is. And it's so simple, it sounds like it can't be that simple. It can't be that easy, but it is. It's how we're all designed. So get quiet, let your mind get quiet, and just ask. And then you will know exactly what your journey should be. Now, that doesn't mean you can't learn from the web or from all kinds of other people. You can. And that can be very valuable, but you want to, I want to be connected to the people that I know are next in terms of my asking questions or being supported by. And we do that naturally, like you've been drawn to Janet in Janet's group. That's your wisdom showing you what was next for you. But it can go much, much further than that. Does that make sense to you?
It does. Thank you. Thank you for that. And
Yeah.
Janet too. And everybody. It's just been so wonderful.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that you want to serve others, because how you're here to serve others, we don't always see that. And certainly we don't see it from here, but as we quiet, we begin to see more and more what our journey is and how we can be of greatest service. Because life wants you to serve. Life wants you to serve humanity. That's just part of why we're here. I believe. That's my belief.
Thank you.
Thank
And-
you.
And I would just like to say, when you were cooking with Janet, when I saw that, you did fabulous. And so you're a natural. I just want to encourage you.
Thank you. Well, as a teacher, I taught, Janice is doing a lot of this, and it's a good example, and that's what I feel I should be doing, so yeah, thank
Well,
you.
you do
Thank you for that.
You influence a lot of people, and like you say, like at the store, and I mean, you're just a natural, so you might as
My
well.
husband just walks away.
I know the feeling.
So
Another thing that I've learned is that the mind is not our enemy. That it's just like a 2-year-old, and the more I'm kind and loving towards it, like I would be a 2-year-old, the quieter it gets, and the more I try to force it to do something or beat it up or beat me up, the louder it gets and the more cranky it gets, and the mind thinks that's its job. It just thinks, it can't help it. And I just think Connie's idea of just sitting still and just letting the thoughts go by like clouds in the sky, that we have thousands of thoughts a day that we don't pay any attention to. It's those sticky ones that we grab onto and attach to, and that it's like, no, 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 this one doesn't have to be sticky either. It's just habit. So
Yeah, and that thought, oh, I may not be able to do this, that is just thinking.
Yeah.
Your wisdom would never tell you that. It would never guide you in that way. That isn't real. It isn't true about you or who you are. And the immediate tip off is that it's critical. And when we believe critical thinking, our mood drops. We get in a low mood. And what that's designed to do is to show us we're believing something that isn't real about ourselves or life. And the way that we overcome it is like what Janet says, you just don't pay any attention to it. Let the thought move on by like a cloud moves through the sky. And get quiet if you wish and find out what your next is. Or not, just let the thought go on by and go on about your life.
yeah, sometimes it's just noticing that I'm paying attention to it. Oh, I'm paying attention. I'm believing my thoughts. Wow.
And I love how you say to be kind and loving to your thinking mind, because it's it is so important. So it is wanting to be efficient and effective, and it does so many things so we don't have to repeat the process of learning to tie our shoes again and again. It's very efficient and very important in what we do each day. Who's
The
next?
practical mind is so useful. It's the psychological mind that, that is always needing to judge. That's the one that we want to poke holes in, say, well, yeah.
Anyone else? I'd love to hear what you're into. Like, is there anybody here who's totally SOS free? And how long have you been SOS free? Yeah, share, Karen.
Well, I will share that I'm not perfect, and the only thing that I cannot help all the time is the sodium. That's the sugar, forget it. The flour, forget it. I don't even go there. It's not something appropriate for me, and that I have inner wisdom about. But it is the sodium, and I might even, who knows, I may require it due to my low sodium blood work. But the other thing is, I was once 113 several months ago, many months ago, and then I just threw that away and ate to my hunger. But I think I was hungry at 113. I must be 119 now. But then the question is, I'm going to use your theory to sit with it and ask the wisdom, do I still want to be at this point? That's my whole thing. How do we know what our appropriate weight is? Okay, there's the BMI, but I'm okay in there. But how do we know how much? I know I must have been restricting myself because it's, how it is. You can't be too thin or whatever. But what would you say to that? How do you find your?
Well, I would do just what you're thinking to do, is get quiet and ask your wisdom, but don't lead it. Just ask an open-ended question like, what is my ideal weight?
Your ideal weight is what it is right in this moment. And it's there to teach us things. So it doesn't mean it'll be your final weight, but for the moment, it's there to just kind of help us. It's such a teacher. And if we stop fighting it and beating ourselves up and molesting ourselves, we could learn what it is trying to tell us.
That's really wise what you said, Janet. Now, taking that on, listening to Janet, Karen, what came up for you in listening to her, if anything?
That everything I eat is so healthy and so appropriate for me. I know deep down, how all right, Gregor with his extra 25 things he's added, you know. So I've added those, you know. And some things like that amla powder is distasteful to me, and I don't know how it's helping me, so I kind of want to dispense with that, you know. I just to take what she said, just to sit with it. I don't know. I eat very healthfully, and I don't really overdo except when I finish the plate, you know, but that's all good stuff, you know, and nothing is off the boards, inappropriate, nothing. Except sometimes I will give into the sodium a little bit, you know, just a little, just to give it some
One thing about the sodium, if it isn't about taste, well, let's play in this realm. You can use a little bit of kombu or Dulce flakes to give yourself the sodium and the iodine. I put it in a smoothie. Now I know Chef AJ says, or some of them don't use smoothies at all, but I don't do it every day. I do a smoothie twice a week, and I put in a piece of kombu about like that to get the sodium and the iodine. And that works great. But
so you don't have the craving for the sodium.
no.
I put the kombu, reminds me of macrobiotic. Remember those days? I put it in the soups that I make, the soup I make, the vegetable soup.
That's great. Yeah. It's a food that is very good for the body. So it's great that you use it. The other side of it that I've experienced, Karen, when you get rid of all the sodium long enough, you go into a world with food I had no idea was possible. Now, maybe you've already done that, but I didn't know that food could taste the way it tastes. I'd never had that experience before. And now it's just like I was saying earlier, it's getting better and better and better. So I love the no salt thing. And I had a mild stroke, which I thought was nuts. How could I have a mild stroke when I was so health conscious? But I was using ghee, which we made ourselves, in my beans and lentil dishes. So I was getting oil there. And I was using a lot of, not a lot, but certainly enough salt in all my dishes. And so I figured that's what created the difficulty. That's when I learned about SOS and changed immediately once I realized what might be driving it. But giving up the salt, I had no idea, or I would have done it long before. It's like paradise, I have to tell you. If paradise exists, this is part of it.
I think
Do you
food
feel
tastes
that
so
way,
much better.
Janet?
Yeah, food. I mean, I ate a carrot the other day and oh my gosh, it was just so sweet. I mean, food just tastes better and better and better and better. And I have no use for salt. I actually, several months ago, I started to use the cocoa aminos because so many people use it. And I just thought, I don't know, nothing, it doesn't do anything for me. I just don't, I'm not a salt person, I guess, because I love food so much better without it.
Well, and the main thing is, Karen, follow your own body's wisdom. Check in. Your body knows if you need salt.
I was using the Bragg's and diluting it just a little.
Yeah.
Salt is too powerful for me, the actual salt, but a little bit of this type of thing from my macrobiotic days. I don't know.
Yeah, I
You
know.
know, remember those things they used to give us? Yeah.
Umi, I used to
Ume.
use umi vinegar all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
One thing that came to my mind, Karen, is having the 113-pound Karen talk to the 119-pound Karen, and having the 119-pound Karen, because there might be something in there that you're hearing that's making you feel bad because you're not, you were there and now you're not, and maybe
I
she
used to weigh myself every single day like a fanatic, and then I decided that's it, I'm done. I'm going to go with my inner wisdom. And I felt so free and I could choose. I listened to the wisdom then.
Uh-huh.
Right.
And that, of course, I was on the purple potatoes then too. But that's a good idea, Janet. I think perhaps look into that.
Each of them has to say. And you be mediator.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be happy with 115 to tell you the truth. I am 5'4", you know.
Uh-huh.
Oh, how we've been corrupted by charts and oh, I cannot tell you. And weighing and measuring and terrible.
Who else wants to share? I'd love to hear from more of you.
Where's Lisa? Let me see, is she on page 2? Lisa,
Jean,
don't you have anything? Lisa?
In the office.
Unmute yourself, girl.
Nope, I don't have anything.
Okay.
What about Jean?
Me?
Yes.
Well, I'm not at my goal weight right now, so I'm really trying to get there. But I have Graves' disease, so my thyroid medication regulates all my thyroid needs. And sometimes I go up, sometimes I go down. So for me, it seems hard to lose weight when a hormone is dictating my hunger. So it's hard to know if I've eaten enough because I don't feel hungry sometimes. You know, like I eat salads for supper, but I'm afraid that if I don't eat enough, then after the evening hours, I'll get hungry. And if I'm hungry, I can't sleep. You know, it's just like I'll wake up in the middle of the night thinking about it, you know. So like you said, you know, you walk into the kitchen, why am I eating that? It's like I feel like if I don't, I'm going to get hungry later on and sleep. So I figure, you know, banana's harmless, you know, it's not adding a lot, but it might be enough to calm things down, you know. But yeah, seems like I can only lose like 5 pounds a year. So
Well, are you SOS free or no?
yes, pretty much, yes.
And are you doing all whole food plant-based?
I would have to say yes, but then it's spring season, so we're getting into biking. And so like last month, I'm weighing myself once a month and I've only, it's almost like I gained a pound, but I'm not quite done weighing myself yet. I do it over 3 days, but I feel like I've got more muscle too. So I'm like just feeling that's just a wash right now and don't worry about it, you know. But we do get out and about, and then we'll do an after ride and we'll go somewhere to, my husband, he's not completely whole food. So we'll go somewhere that I can find compliant food more or less. But yeah, I think that might be sneaking in some oils, like in the falafel that's made, you know, because they pre-make the falafel and I think they're pre-making it with oil, even though I can't really taste
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I notice the savoriness of it, but it seems moister than it should be, you know?
Yes, I know what you mean. Yes.
So I suspect that, and then he'll have a bag of chips and I'll eat maybe 5 or 6 of them, but then he'll eat the rest. So yeah, I'm kind of having some slippage, you know, with the increased activity.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel
Well, you know what I would encourage you to do is get quiet and find out what it is that you feel is your next, not around weight, just your next in life. What is it that you really want to direct your attention toward? Get clear on what you value most.
as far
Whatever
as
it is.
the weight
It's-
loss journey, you mean?
No, as far as life itself. And then I think the more you're clear on that, the questions you have about eating will become more and more clear. Does that make any sense to you?
Yes, it does. It does.
Yeah, that's where I'd begin if I were you. But I love that you're doing what you're doing. Have you lost weight so far?
Oh, yeah. I feel like I'm slower than Chef AJ. And I blame it on the hormone.
Yeah,
You know, that it's just coming off so slow.
yeah.
It's just, if I'm doing a pound a month, I'm thrilled. But
Oh, good.
I started like at 200 and I'm down to 165.
Oh, great.
So I feel like I'm in the slower
Yeah, that's okay.
part of it. And just
Yeah.
at the reboot, I focused on my 2 pounds of greens and following that list, checking off. I can't hardly get the pound of potato in. I feel so full after eating the greens.
Yeah, after you have your
But the problem with the eating all them greens is a couple hours later, you're hungry again. You know, I was like, what? You know, yeah,
Why the starch?
trying to balancing out between eating too much and not enough,
Yes.
you know.
Well, what I hear, and when you go into the food area, I hear a lot of thinking that you're trying to follow or make yourself fit into. That's why I think if you get clear on what you really value in life, the food part will become much clearer.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's tough to eat sometimes.
It is
Well-
5 o'clock, Connie, so I want to
No,
restrict.
I was just going to say, Janet,
Mhm.
I'd love it if you'd give them our website so they can have access to the recipes. And anybody is more than welcome to come on our Saturday call for 2 months for free. It's $20 a month after that if you decide to stay involved, but if you don't, that's fine. Or if you don't want to come on at all, that's fine. But we'd love to have those who may have an interest. You can come on and try it out once and see what you think.
Mhm.
Is it
Healthy living.
Saturday or one Saturday a month?
Pardon me?
Is it every Saturday or one
Every
Saturday a month?
Saturday. Yeah, every Saturday at 10 o'clock Mountain Time.
No, Pacific.
I mean Pacific Time.
Amazing health effortlessly. Here it is.
That's
And you can
Yeah,
come on.
yeah.
What we do a little cooking demo. We have a very short segment of a video from a doctor about whole food plant-based. And then we talk about this understanding that can make a difference in how we live our lives. So you're welcome to give it a try if you wish, and if not, no problem. Janet, thank you so much for letting me meet your beautiful group. I love what you're doing.
Aren't they wonderful? Thank you
They
so
are
much, Connie. Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody.
Thank you,
for
Connie.
joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate everything.
I do want to say one thing, and the reason why I was so quiet is I'm stunned at your wisdom. And I just felt the need to be quiet and listen, which is rare.